Second, Guruji. All right, you can start.
Okay. Hello, guys. Good evening. I hope you're all doing well. So, today's topic for us is cognitive changes. And we are going to look into some particular topics, that is, the objectives. Next slide, please. Yeah. So, we're going to define and describe the meaning of cognitive changes and that take place in an adolescent stage. You know what adolescence is? It is the age between 12 and 21. We're going to then describe cognitive development during this adolescent years, and we're going to explain the Piaget's theoretical approach on cognitive development, describe the information processing perspective in cognitive development, and analyze the school performance and cognitive development during this adolescence phase. So, what exactly is cognition? Cognition refers to any and all forms of knowing and awareness, such as perceiving, conceiving, uh, remembering, reasoning, judging, imagining, and problem solving. This, along with the effect and cognition. What does cognition mean? Cognition is the will to do something. It is one of the three traditional identified components in our mind. Now, cognition refers to, as I said, all the processes beyond which sensory input is transformed, reduced, elaborated, stored, recovered, and used. Okay. Can we go on to the next slide, please? Okay. There are two major differences between all the previous psychological approaches that we've seen and the cognitive approach, the cognitive psychological approach. Now, cognitive psychology accepts the use of scientific method. That is, scientific inquiry is very well accepted. That means you can actually go in a lab, sit and test it. Otherwise, you can use other scientific methods to test whatever you're trying to portray. And it generally rejects the idea of introspection as a valid method of investigation. That means introspection means looking into yourself, or something has happened, you're analyzing that particular situation. That is what introspection means, and generally this is not accepted by your cognitive psychology as a part of investigation, because it is not going to reveal much, right? It is a belief that cognitive development takes place during the adolescence at a more rapid pace, and the ability to think, contemplate, and analyze becomes even more sharper. Now, what does it say? It says that the cognitive development is taking place during that takes place during this time. This particular time of adolescence is at a much faster rate. If you even if you notice the grasping power or the understanding power of a child is far more at a lesser pace than compared to an adolescent. An adolescent or a young adult, as I would like to call them, is at a much more higher capacity to grasp on to things, to understand things, and that essentially carves their personality as well. If you look at middle adulthood or late adulthood, this kind of cognitive development does not take place. Their process of thinking or their processor, which is their brain, slows down to a certain extent, right? So even their ability to contemplate, that is to think about stuff, to analyze things, becomes a lot more sharper. Oh, sorry, I thought I was just doing that. Okay. Yeah. Cognitive development in adolescence is what we're going to look at now. Cognitive development generally refers to the growth and maturation of thinking processes of all kinds, that is, including perceiving, remembering, concept formation, problem solving, imagining, and reasoning. Now, adolescents are young adults between the age of 12 to 21, and this marks the beginning of a complex thinking, of a more complex thinking process, which is known as your formal logical operation. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, this formal logical thinking approach, what does it actually include? It includes stuff like abstract thinking, the ability to reason or to know, reason from the principles. Okay, like you already have certain rules and principles, right? From that, you're able to reason out, as in you're able to question it and you're able to analyze it. That is why reasoning comes in place. The ability to consider many points of views according to varying criteria. Like if you have a certain criteria, suppose say the child starts to think about his career, okay, and then he has so many different points of view. He wants to become a musician, a footballer, a doctor, or a hotelier, or a psychologist, whatever it is he wants to think, he'll think about each of them in different points of view. So pros and cons, regard depending on the criteria that he's trying to go through. Then he compares and debates ideas or opinions, whatever opinion he has, no, before he talks about it, or even while talking about it, he thinks about it. He has a constant, or the child has a constant battle that is going on, where he compares and debates within himself about the ideas that he has and the information that he wants to pass on. Then the development of ability to think about the process of thinking itself. Now, thinking is a process where you contemplate on certain stuff, right? So he thinks about thinking itself. I know it's a little confusing, but it's a very deep, it has a very deep meaning to it. Next page, please. Yes. Early adolescence. Now, this age is 11 to 14 years old. Here, the youngster is more able to think about complex thinking, or is able to use more complex thinking. They are focused on personal decision making in school and at home environment. This is a time generally when the kid comes to the parent and tells, I want to be a little more independent. And this is a time when they want a little more responsibilities. They come up and they talk about being a little more responsible at home. And they'll start taking up a little more things like chores a little more seriously. Okay, they begin to demonstrate the use of formal logical operations in their schoolwork as well. As in, they're able to understand concepts and all that. They begin to question authority and social standards. If you're like, you're not supposed to put your elbows on your table while you're eating, they'll be like, why shouldn't we do that? They constantly question everything to understand. It is basically to understand. So in case your teenager is really asking you questions as to why he or she should not follow it, or should follow a certain rule that you have at home, explain to them as to why. The minute they know why, they generally tend to follow it if they think it is logical enough. Okay, they begin to form and verbalize their own thoughts and views on a variety of topics which are usually related to their own life. So sports, school, extracurricular groups, all these are the decisions that they make, right? Suppose say there's a boy, he wants to play cricket. The sport that he chooses is cricket. His school, he doesn't like math, so he'll be like, no, I don't want to take math, I want an exemption out of math. Or no, he loves math, he'll be like, no, I will do something in the mathematics field, or I'll go ahead in this particular direction. Extracurricular activities, he'll be like, no, I want to play music, so I'll go play the drums, I'll learn how to play the drums. They'll start looking at their physical appearance, their personal appearance, and then they'll start questioning your rules, the rules that you put out for them. They'll start questioning these because they want to know as to why they're there. Can we move on to the next slide, please? And those were the characteristics of your early adolescence. Now we move on to the middle adolescence. In middle adolescence, these are the young adults between the age of 15 and 17. And at this point, they have more experience in using much more complex thinking processes. Now, this particular time, no, they focus on stages, and this focus at this stage, or their focus at this stage, expands into philosophical and futuristic concerns area, right? So their focus also includes extensive questioning. Again, they'll keep questioning everything. They're very curious to know. So their questioning doesn't stop at the stage. They want to know everything about the world. And extensive analysis. So if they get to know certain information, they want to know more and more about it. They'll try digging, they'll try knowing more. Thinking about and beginning forming their own code of ethics. So they'll want to know as to what rule it is, and they'll be like, no, this is okay for me, not okay for me. This is my way of thinking. This is my set of rules that I'm putting it up for myself. Suppose there's a person, there's a child, there's an adolescent at this age. They'll be like, no, I will spend so much time in studying. I'll spend so much time with my friends. I'll spend so much time on the phone. That is their own set of ethics that they're forming. This is how I'll speak to another person. This is how I'll dress. This is my limitation when it comes to exposing my skin. This is how much I want to cover my skin. This is what I want to do with makeup, no makeup. All these are their own decisions, their own code of ethics. Okay. They think about different possibilities and start to develop their own identity. This is where they're trying out new stuff. They're trying to know where they fit in. They begin to systematically consider their future goals. So this, during this age of 15 and 17 in India and especially in Karnataka, this is where you're in 10th to 12th, sorry, 10th to +1 +2. So this is where you actually can focus on what your future is, which way you want to go with your studies, what do you want to be. This is where you can plan your own future, and then you can actually work on it. They start to make their own plans. That is, they'll talk to their friends and they'll be like, oh, we're gonna go out for a movie this Sunday. So this is their own way of planning, right? So they'll be like, no, I want to study this Sunday. No, I want to play this Sunday. I want to go for a movie this Sunday. I want to go meet my friends this Sunday. Things like that. Okay, they make their own decisions first and basically then only ask you. Okay, they begin to think on a long term basis. As I said, this is a time where their focus is on their future, what they want to be, what they want to do when they grow up. They systematically think systematic thinking starts to affect and influence the relationship with others. Now is where their importance comes out. No importance to people, to the people that they give. Parents, the importance to parents usually subsides around this age, and a peer importance towards peers, the relationship with their friends gains more importance. And it also influences their relationship. That means actual the word relationship, whatever it means, literal relationship with a girl or a boy, that also influences. At around this age, they'll start feeling emotions towards the opposite gender, and then they want to their plans also influence how they think about their future. This is their adolescence. We'll move on to the late adolescence. This is the age between 18 and 24 years of life. Here, complex thinking processes are used to focus on less self-centered concepts as well as
Coffee
personal
ಕುಡ್ದಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
decision making.
ಇಲ್ಲ
Yes, is
11
there
ಗಂಟೆಗೆ
anyone? May I know who has a doubt?
Vasudha, I muted you by mistake. I was
It's
supposed
okay. It's
to
okay.
mute
It's okay. No,
Mamta.
no problem. No problem. No
Yeah.
problem. It's okay. If anybody does have a doubt, let me know. I'll see how far I can clarify it. Okay. If nobody has a doubt, we'll continue. Yes.
No, it
No,
was by
maybe.
mistake, I guess.
No, not about the muting and unmuting thing. I was wondering
No,
if
no. Even
anybody had a
Mamta,
doubt.
she was talking, but she was on unmute.
Okay.
You carry on.
It's okay. It's okay. Okay. So during the late adolescence, these people start, there's a complex thinking process that goes on, and they're focused on less self-centered stuff. They're able to make personal decisions, but these personal decisions necessarily do not have to be about themselves alone. They think about stuff like global concepts such as justice, history, politics, patriotism. This is where the person decides what they can do for people around them, right? They can start thinking about people apart from themselves. They develop idealistic views of specific topics and concerns. Now, okay, the huge topic here is about, say, example. At this point of time, suppose they're talking about LGBTQ community. Their opinions on this tend to change. They start to develop more opinions of their own regarding the certain topics like these. They discuss and debate and show intolerance towards opposing views. That means they certain groups with their friends, and they talk to their friends they're debating about issues and all that. And if someone does not have the same opinion as they do, they still do not have tolerance towards it. They'll be like, no, this is still the way I think. This might be the correct thing. Everybody has to think this way. A certain amount of egocentrism still stands. Okay. They focus on making important career decisions. As I said, from the early adolescence phase onwards, the okay, forget early adolescence phase, the late middle adolescence phase is where they start thinking about their careers. And here at this point of time, that is because they're entering college at this point of time, they have to make proper decisions about their career, and it is very important, and they do. Okay, they focus on their roles as as an adult in the society. So now they've become 18 years old. 18 years old, you get your chance to vote, you're getting your permission to vote, you're getting your permission to drive, that is, you're getting your license, your voter's ID, pan card, your everything. You're becoming a more independent person. The child becomes a much more independent person. He's considered an adult at the age of 18. And this is the time when they start thinking like adults. They start thinking about everything an adult does and what their role as an adult is in their society. And this is late adolescence. Let's move on. Okay, this phase of adolescence, that is the entire phase of adolescence, can either be very prolonged, it can be long, or virtually non-existent, but this depends on the type of culture. Like if you look at Indian culture, much importance isn't given to adolescence phase. Now there is changes, but adolescence is almost like you're a child to all your all, everybody around you. You're not an adult, you're not a child, but they'll consider you a child till you're 20. That is for sure. By this stage, the young adults are capable of making logical thoughts, but do not necessarily show such thinking. Okay, so at this point of time, they can think like a proper adult. They can think like a full grown adult. They can do logical decisions and all that, but they do not show it because they're treated like kids. And a best example for this is a little time ago, I went to a restaurant with my parents, and I was bringing in three trays or three plates in both my hands. I was a trained F&B service specialist, or I was trained in F&B service. I'm not calling myself a specialist, that's wrong. I was trained in carrying many plates at the same time, but still, for my father, even though I'm 28 years old, the person still looks at me like a 8-year-old, right? So that again is where your adolescent phase is either prolonged or virtually non-existent. Your parent can either think you're a fully grown adult by the time you're 15, or they can think of you as a kid even when you're 30. Okay, by the stage, as I said, these young adults are capable of logical thinking, but they do not necessarily show it. Their understanding of how and they themselves and other people around them think, their understanding as to how other people think around them, they're trying to understand how they themselves think, and they continue to change and develop. So the more information that they get about about the things that are going on around them, that is how they're going to change and develop. Cognitive development continues throughout adolescence and results in a more mature mode of thought. Next page, please. Yeah. So Piaget's theoretical approach on cognitive development. Now, Jean Piaget envisioned a child's knowledge as composed of schema or basic units of knowledge which are used to organize past experiences and serve as a basis for understanding new ones. We've already spoken about schema a couple of times till now. Schema again is everything that you know that is arranged, right? So if you think of your brain as a filing cabinet and there are thousands of files in it, each page or each sheet is a schema, because the files do have pages. Each page is a schema. That is, each page has certain information and each page is a schema. And the stages, again, we all know the different stages that are there in Piaget's theory. So I would ask someone to take me through to take me through the 4 stages of the Piaget's theory. Ritika, can you kindly black out the screen for now?
You mean to stop?
Yeah, just for a couple of minutes so that someone can give me the 4 stages of Piaget's theory. I know probably most of you are sleeping.
I know, I can do it. Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4.
Praharsh, apart from the
Super.
PJs, can you kindly give me a proper answer?
Okay, one is sensory motors. Second one, let's say third is
Pre-operational.
concrete operation. So operation is the smallest possible, let's say, thought. And definitely the second one, since we are not getting into concrete operation, is pre-operational. And third one is concrete operation. And fourth one is formal operation.
Yes. Thank you so much, Praharsh. Proves you're not sleeping.
We are taking tests.
Ritika, yeah. No, I mean, it is to see if how many people are active, right? Most of us will be
God,
sleeping at this point of
That
time.
Prahash just taken Piaget's theory recently
Yeah.
for our
No, that was me.
paper.
I took it just Monday.
You took it or oh, he took Stenberg's. Yeah, you took.
Yeah, I took
Right.
this one.
Yeah.
I studied
Yeah.
with PJ. We went to kindergarten together. Continue now.
Who?
Or continue, please.
Yeah, please. Can we move on to the next page, please? Okay. On reaching the formal operational stage, that is when you're adolescents, right? Your formal operational stage again is around the age of 12 to 21, right? No. Sorry, that is your adolescence. I myself have forgotten. Just a minute.
Wow.
Yeah, apparently so. So 15 and above is your formal operational stage. On reaching the formal operational stage, a young adult shows more increased independence for thinking through problems and situations. So if you give them a problem or a situation, they're able to think through it. They're able to use different strategies to get out of the problem. And it is really creative how they come up with the solutions to these problems also. They must be able to understand pure abstraction, things like philosophy, higher mathematical concern, higher maths concerns, okay, higher math concerns or higher mathematical problems. Things like people who are doing CA, MCA, and all that, people they're using much more complex math problems, right? These are also understanding, they're able to understand these particular sums as well. And abstractions, they're able to understand these pure abstractions and are able to learn specific information and skills necessary for an occupation. Now, again, when we're talking about a formal operational stage, it is 15, 16 and above, right? So they're able to learn certain skills that are required for a career. Now, if suppose say software engineers, their updation every year, right? No, Praharsh, not 11 onwards. It's beyond that. Okay, and as I was saying, these software engineers have to learn new skills or new platforms or new softwares every now and then as to keep up with the demand, right? This is also like that. So these kids, these young adults learn everything for the first time. And they're all learning about these proper skills that they need to earn your livelihood. An individual goes through cognitive transition during the course of the journey from the sensory motor stage to your formal operational stage. And during this stage or this adolescent phase, adolescents think in ways that are more advanced and more efficient as well as more comparatively complex from that of a child. So the way we think or the way an adult thinks or the way a person in the formal operational stage thinks is much more complex than compared to how a child thinks. Can we go on to the next page? Their abilities, all their abilities can be observed in 5 different ways. Now, their ability to think is not limited or to what is tangible or real or what is concrete, right? We moved on from the concrete phase. So anything that is abstract or hypothetical also can be understood. An adolescent finds it easier to understand higher order thinking and begins to understand things like sarcasm, metaphors, analogies, etc. Their ability of abstract thinking facilitates the application of advanced reasoning and logical processes as well as social and ideological matters. Okay, they also yeah, they also begin to think of concepts such as relationships, politics, philosophy, religion, and morality. Now, all this is again, all these things are higher order thinking, not self-centered, right? These are all thinking beyond a certain level. Now they're starting to think about things that are not just about themselves. Can we go on to the next page, please? Thank you. These young adults begin to think of processes of thinking itself. The entire process of thinking itself is a huge thing, right? You can observe an increase in introspection and self-consciousness. Again, the process of thinking, when you're thinking about the process of thinking itself, that on its own is introspection. Thinking becomes multi-dimensional and they look at a problem from multiple perspectives. They begin to understand that individuals' personality isn't single sided and circumstances and situations influence personality. Adolescents are more likely to see things relatively. They question others' assertion and are less likely to accept facts as the absolute truth. So, if suppose you say sun rises from the east, an adolescent will be like, why does it rise from the east? Why not from somewhere else? I won't believe it until I see it, or until I observe it, I'm not going to believe it. Okay, things like that do happen. It is just not about the same fact. That's all. Yeah. Egocentrism. Thank you. Egocentrism in adolescence. The feeling of personal uniqueness, often experienced in adolescence, that is, the conviction that one is special and is or should be the constant focus of others' attention, is egocentrism. Right. So at this point of time, every adolescent, no exception whatsoever, thinks that they themselves are the center of the universe. They think that everybody's eyes are on them. Whatever they say is what everybody will follow. Everything that I like is liked by everyone. Everything is about me, me, and only me, right? Me, myself, and I. That's what they think. Adolescents at this stage are extremely conscious and feel that everyone, wherever they go or everywhere they go, either think or talk about them and are and them alone. However, or hence, they are extra aware of their appearance and everything related to them. See, if you see, a teenager at the age of 11 or 12 would be adamant on not going to take a shower. But if you see by the age of 15, 16, and 17, they start taking better care of themselves. For example, again, there's this comedian by the name Gabriel Iglesias, and he has a son. So there's a lot of comedy that he does on his son. When he was 10 to 15 years old, apparently, this guy's son wouldn't take a shower and wouldn't use deodorants. He would stink like anything. But after the age of 15, when the girls in his school didn't start looking at him or weren't paying attention to him, that is when he realized that deodorant was very important. Now, again, that is when he realized that his appearance is a part of why people look at him, or his appearance is why people are actually looking at him. So he'll better dress himself and go ahead. Next, please. Thank you. Now, definition of information processing. What is information? Information is the facts. uh, Information is the facts provided or learnt about someone or something. Information processing is the flow of information through the human nervous system involving the operation of particular systems such as memory stores, decision processes, and response mechanism. Okay, information processing is the way everything flows through your body, right? Okay, can we go on to the next one? Information processing perspective. The manipulation of data by computers to accomplish some goal as such as problem solving or communication is known as the information processing perspective. It is the process by which or the process which describes everything which happens in the universe. So whatever is happening around the universe, the understanding or how we describe it is how information is processed, right? Information comes from the environment and is registered in our brain through our sensory memory. Now, remember your Atkinson and Shiffrin's stage model theory. This is exactly what it is talking about. So, sensory memory, sensory registers first take in the information from outside, and then it registers into your sensory memories, which once repeated goes into your long term memory, right? Next, please. Okay. Any and all information received from the environment has to follow certain procedures, right? So we acquire information, we retain the information, and we apply the information as and when it is required. When we pay attention or when our attention is focused on the above processes, that is acquiring, retaining, and applying, that is when the information is stored in our working memory. Okay. Our STM, that is short-term memory, has a very limited capacity and it can hold up to plus or minus 5 plus or minus 2, right? At any given point of time. So the magic number is 7. Our long-term memory stores information almost indefinitely. In order to use this information when needed, we move it to our working memory. That means we are applying it, right? So the process of application is going on. So we move the information from our long-term memory to our working memory. And this process of transferring is known as retrieval. Thank you. Information processing theory. Information processing theory is associated with the development of high-speed computers in the 1950s. That is the information processing theory, focused on the innate mental capacities that were conditioned and extremely observable behaviors. With experimental psychologists testing theories about complex mental processes through computer simulation, information processing models help re-establish the internal thought process as legitimate areas of scientific research. So there was more testing that was going on when it came to the higher order thinking and the complex mental processes. And after which, when they saw that this was happening even in the computers, they considered it as a reasonable and a legitimate area of scientific research. Information processing theory, in simple terms, is the analysis of the way the human being learns something new. So, whatever new information that we find, right, or that we get, we acquire it, we retain it, and then we apply it. So, that is the entire information processing system. Can we move on, please? Okay. Information processing model. Now, the information processing theory follows fixed structure and is divided into 4 parts. Your stage model, your sensory memory or your sensory register, and your your short-term memory and your long-term memory. Now, if you look at the way this is arranged, your stage model theory is your Shiffrin and Atkinson stage model theory. Your sensory registers is your Vog and Norman, including your short term and your long term, right? All of these are what we've already learned in your cognitive psychology. Can we move on, please? Thank you. The 4 main beliefs of the information processing approach include the following. The process of thinking includes perceiving, encoding, representing, storing, retrieving information, as well as responding to any complaints or limitations on the memory process. 4 critical mechanisms that are crucial in the process of changing A child's cognitive skill are encoding, strategy construction, automatism, sorry, automatization and generalization. Sorry for the long pause. See, the cat is very shocked when your memory fails, right before your sight exam. Can we go on, please? Thank you. Children play a very important role in their own development process, right? It is called self-modification. Through self-modification, the child uses the memory or the knowledge and strategies that were previously acquired to modify their response to a new situation or a problem. Suppose, say, they've already faced a problem where they forgot their homework at home itself. They go to school and the teacher's like, why did you forget your homework? They'll be like, my dog ate it. The last time it worked, this time also it will work. But again, if the same excuse is repeated again and again, they're a little iffy on it and they get caught at the end. Okay, a careful task of analysis of the problem situation must be done before presenting it to the child. The nature of the task itself might constrain the child's performance. The problem must be presented in a simple manner, as extra information can mislead or confuse the child, leading to underperformance. Now, suppose, say, you're going to a doctor and you're trying to tell them what the problem is. You give them unnecessary information, then it's going to confuse them in giving you a proper diagnosis. Okay. Suppose what they want to know is headache, stomach pain, and leg pain, but you give them ear pain, headache, eye hurting, and everything, which are not really the symptoms of the problem, then they're going to give you a misdiagnosis. This is something similar. So if you're presenting a piece of clay to the child, it should be a piece of clay. You can't put it in a shape and say you make it into another shape. The child will be confused because it already is a shape, right? I hope my examples are okay. Next one, please.
Yes,
Okay.
they are.
Thank you. Okay, before we go ahead and can you stop sharing, Ritika, for a minute? Okay, I will ask you certain questions. Okay, I ask you those questions. Uh, the school performance during adolescence drops to a certain extent when they're in that particular phase. Can you people give me or explain to the class as why there's a drop in the performance?
Distractions.
Okay. Can you attribute that to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder?
Yeah, I think everything is at peak during this time.
Yeah. So
So when a child goes to school, when he initially starts going to school, that's when any disability, right? The teacher finds out. But again, they
yeah.
are in doubt, and it takes a lot of time, long process. By the time the child comes to this age, I guess
So
everything. Yeah.
yeah. There are other reasons why there's a drop in performance. One is again a distraction, and normally people can block out these distractions, but children who cannot have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Can other reasons be released? Please release the answers.
And
Guys, are you all sleeping?
one thing is we can't get over distractions, because I think kids enjoy distractions.
No, no. See, in a class, when you're sitting in a class, you're expected to deviate or divert from those distractions and pay attention, right? So, in order to understand the class, you have to put away with your distractions. You can't let those distractions affect you. But in cases where your distraction is, your simultaneous and spontaneous and successive memories are not working, there you have a problem with keeping away distractions.
Yes.
Guys, uh, guys, I want answers.
Yes,
Please
yes, there's a
help me
problem.
out. Other reasons why there's a drop in performance, please don't look at your textbooks. I gave you a hint right there.
I mean, there are a lot of psychological changes and a lot of changes going on within the child. So he or she is still trying to cope with themselves, you know. So it's not just a distraction, like all these things. And then, again, there's issue with the parents because generation gap. That's when they start feeling there's a lot of generation gap and all that.
Of
So,
course.
they get reprimanded from the parents and, they have
School as
pressure
well.
as well.
Yeah. Too much homework? Really, Naseema? Oh my God. Okay. Ritika, I'm so sorry to do this. Can you kindly put back the presentation?
Yes.
I'm really, really sorry.
No problem. It's nice actually. You're keeping us awake.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, most of the answers that I've gotten were correct. I would hope if you would have spoken them, it would have been nice if you would have spoken them out. Increased chemical activity in the brain, correct. Too much homework? No, I don't think so. Wait, I can't see the screen.
Aliens,
That is Praharsh.
vitamins, global warming, and aliens.
Can you see the screen, Vasudha? Is anybody able to see the screen?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Okay, then it must be with her sister phone.
Sorry about that. Okay, so some of the reasons why there's underperformance during these adolescent years is because there's lack of motivation. They don't know what to do, and there are problems at home or with your friends and stuff like that, right? So there's again poor habits of poor work and study habits. So they do not know how to organize themselves. They do not know how to plan their studies and all that. All those reasons are also why there is a decrease in performance. Emotional and behavioral problems, just like what Ritu said, yes, there are problems with emotions and all that. Again, she covered most of the points just like that. And learning disabilities, things like dyslexia, dysgraphia, uh, and other learning disabilities, those are also the reason why there's underperformance. ADHD, as I said again, distractions is a very big thing when it comes to ADHD. These children do not know how to keep away distractions from themselves. Mental retardation or below average intelligence. That is another major factor as to why there's drop in performance. Other medical problems, including anxiety and depression. Most of the kids, if you see these days, especially during the last 10 years, more and more teenagers are falling into depression. I don't know if it's become a trend or it is actually these people are actually anxious and depressed and all that. But it has become a major reason as to why their performance has gone down. Yeah, I would, yeah, lifestyle has also had a very big effect on it. Now, if you see, the major reason why these kids are depressed again is because these magazines and media and all that, no, there are stereotypes that these people want to fit in, or they're not
Unnecessary
able to fit
exposure
in.
to unnecessary things.
Exactly. So the girls are expected to be very thin and very pretty. There's a certain beauty standard that you need to meet. These companies like Fair and Lovely, White Tone, all these people make you think that dark skin is bad or something. And every such thing that goes on, no, influences the way they think. So that is one major reason as to why they're getting anxious and depressed. I hope all of you agree to what I'm saying. If not, egocentrism is long left. Now, in order to ease the transition and help these children to go from their early adolescence to late adolescence, and they have to negotiate successfully through many experiences, and counselors and teachers can help the most. These are the people who are going to always support these children and find ways to make their life much more easier. Now, the certain things that a counselor or a teacher or an administrator and even parents must do are form a coordination among the administrators, teachers, and counselors. They must have the involvement of parents. The parents must be well informed in order to help make life easier for teenagers. It is not easy being a teenager. All of you, I know, remember how your teenage was. If yours was excellent, I'm very happy for you. Programs and curricula to foster the students' development in multiple dimensions. Now, if you see, again, our Indian education system focuses only on the academics. It would nowadays, there are schools that are coming up which can expand your mind in different directions. But it is important to see that they're getting an overall growth, right? Your academics must also involve personality development, because if there is no personality development, no matter how many marks you get, you're still not going to be able to do well in life. Responsive counseling to assist with personal issues. In case the child has personal issues like fat shaming or bullying in school, peer pressure, sibling pressure, parent pressure, things like that, societal pressure, auntie pressure, uncle pressure, Sharma ji ka beta pressure, all these things, they're all personal issues to the child, right? So these children must have someone to talk to. So counselors, school counselors are supposed to be there in order to help them navigate through their personal issues. Cultural awareness and sensitivity must be given to the child. They should be taught that you shouldn't discriminate against another person. Just because you're having a bad issue at home, or it is very bad at home or very bad in the society, it doesn't mean that you have to take it out on someone else. Things like that should be taught. Again, you should always tell the teenager that you're going to be there for them. Counselors and parents must always make sure that the teenager trusts them enough to tell them their issues so that they can navigate through these problems easily. Advocacy for and attention to diverse needs of the students. Again, there might be, when you're talking about learning disabilities, we can also talk about these brilliant children, or the golden child, where they're like geniuses from birth and all that. Their ways of thinking is different, right? The need that they have for higher education at a smaller age must be taken care of. In case the person has learning disabilities like dyslexia and all that, special attention must be given to these children to bring them up to a normal person level, right? And that is important for the teachers and the counselors to do. Your parents also must be involved. Now, this is the end of the chapter. Thank you for listening.
That's cute.
Thank you.
I can stop recording, I guess. In case anybody has any